Okay, so now that we've shown you what elasticity is, particularly in the case of price elasticity of demand, and we've shown you how to calculate it, I want to go over some things that might change or determine how elastic a particular good is. Okay, so first up, we have substitutes. Okay, so remember when we were doing the demand shifters, and I said that if the price of a substitute goes up, you're going to want to consume more of the good that it substitutes. So if the price of Nutella goes up, you're going to consume more peanut butter, right? Well, what if your good has 500 substitutes? Okay. If the good that you're consuming right now goes up even a little bit, you're going to want to consider all those other substitutes, right? So if the price increases by a little, quantity demanded should be decreasing by a lot. Okay. So the more substitutes there are for that particular good, the more elastic it is. Okay. So the number of substitutes correlates positively with how elastic it is. The more substitutes, the more demand shifts as a result of a price change. Okay. If the price of, so for example, if the price of Burger King goes up, you might switch to McDonald's or Arby's or something. But if the price of crack goes up, you're not likely to switch to nicotine because those substitutes are not that strong of substitutes versus Burger King, which you could get at McDonald's, Arby's, Wendy's. You have so many substitutes. Even a dollar change in price is gonna shift your quantity demanded inwards. But crack and nicotine are not really great substitutes. In fact, crack is probably the most inelastic good ever created. That's why I use it. It's a common econ trope to use it as a standard example. So if the price of crack goes up, maybe you switch to a different drug, but probably not because you're addicted to crack. So a small change in the price won't have any effect. A large change in the price probably won't make you want to consume less crack either. Okay. So there aren't very many substitutes. You're essentially bound to that particular drug. Versus with Burger King, there are so many substitutes. A small change in price can lead to a large change in quantity demanded. Okay, what else? Necessity. Okay, so the more you need something, the less elastic it is, right? So if I need my fix, right, and the price increases, I'm not going to want to switch away. I'm not going to want to decrease my consumption. Okay, essentially, you're going to consume it because you need it, not because the price is, more or less advantageous for you. Okay. So let's do a more mild example than crack for this one. In August, let's say, like you're in the middle of August, you're in the heat wave, right? Pico tells you they're increasing the price of air conditioning by 50%. Okay. And I say cost, but the cost for you. Okay. Pico's increasing the cost of air conditioning by 50%. Well, hold up. Like, it's the middle of August. You might decrease your air conditioning consumption by a little bit, but largely, like, you're going to be like, all right, I can go to a pool, maybe not this summer, but I can go to a pool, I can go to a friend's house. But at the end of the day, I need to avoid having a heat stroke. I'm going to put on some air at least, right? So you're bound by necessity to keep your quantity demanded relatively within the same level. Okay. If anyone's seen the movie The Purge Anarchy, right? On the day of the purge, the morning of the purge, this guy gets a call from his insurance broker saying that the cost of purge insurance, which is, if anything happens to his business, they'll recoup the cost. The cost of purge insurance is going up on that particular day. Well, of course, this guy needs the cost of, he needs the purge insurance, and the insurance company, whether morally or ethically or not, they nonetheless do increase the cost of purge insurance on that particular day, and this guy's essentially in a captive market. He's at risk of losing his business. So if you're in that case, you're probably going to still end up buying the insurance. If that were the case, the movie would be pretty short. It'd be kind of boring about his legal battle with the purge insurers. But no, he doesn't end up buying the insurance, and the movie comes from that. Anyway, so that's all to say that the more you need a good, the less your quantity demanded can move inwards as the price increases. So you're more inelastic. Okay. All right. Next up, we have the share of the budget. So the lower the share of the budget, the less elastic it is. Okay. And this one seems a little bit strange, but hear me out. So imagine you're creating a budget. What are you budgeting? You're budgeting, food, rent, or mortgage or whatever. Probably maybe a little bit of discretionary income or discretionary spending, like I want to go to the movies when it's not COVID, or like I'm going to go out drinking or whatever, or go to a friend's house. But like your big expenses, right? You're not budgeting for how many hair combs am I buying? How many t-shirts am I buying, right? Why not? Because they're a low share of your budget. Okay. And if you have a t-shirt that goes up from $5 to $10, you're gonna be like, all right, whatever, I'll still buy the t-shirt. If there's a 100% increase in the price, you still might end up buying it. Okay. So the quantity demanded is actually not going to change, even though the price has changed considerably. But if your rent goes up from $1,000 a month to $2,000 a month, well, then you're pretty much immediately going to start looking for new places, or at the very least, you're going to complain to your landlord that they can't do that, right? So the share of the budget, the lower the share of the budget, the less elastic a good is. So just like I said with t-shirts, we can do it with pencils. So the price of a pencil goes up by 10%. You won't even notice, right? If you're every week you go to CVS, you buy a pencil or a pack of gum or whatever, and all of a sudden it's a dime more. It won't even register that it's a dime more. But if the cost of rent goes up, you'll absolutely notice at the very least. You might be bound by necessity, right? And maybe a lack of substitutes to not be able to shift your demand in. But in terms of the budget share, it's definitely going to make you want to shift your demand in. Okay. And then the next thing will be time. So the more time you have to purchase, the more elastic a good is. So let's say you're in that rent example. So you have 3 months until your lease is up. You know that at the end of the 3 months, your rent is going to go up significantly. So what are you going to do? You're going to start looking for a new place, right? You have a long time to purchase. So even though it's a necessary good and maybe there's not that many substitutes, knowing that there's a while that you have until you have to make the purchase decision, you're able to shift your demand in for that particular thing. So you might consider, another place, or you might consider moving in with your parents, or I don't know, maybe if you're lucky, going on the housing market or something like that. If your landlord says the day before your contract's set to expire, your lease is set to expire, that they're increasing the price by 50%, you might be locked in. You might be like, oh, well, what am I going to do? Right? And this is also the case with the purge insurance, right? So purge insurance, not very many substitutes. There's probably not a whole lot of purge insurers out there. It's a very necessary thing. It's probably a high share of your budget, so that's probably going the opposite way. And then so if you had the choice, you would want to shift in, but then you don't have a whole lot of time to react. Okay. Burger King, it's low share of your budget, so in that sense, it's less elastic. But there's many substitutes. It's not necessary. You can always You can always go without Burger King for a night, or go to a substitute, or you know, drink milk or something like that, or I don't know, get your calories elsewhere, or just forego a meal if you have to, if there's no real substitutes available. You probably have some time to purchase it. It's not that you have to buy Burger King at a particular time. Um, so Burger King's a relatively elastic good. If the price of Burger King goes up much more than its competitors, you'd expect the quantity demanded of Burger King to go down. Crack, not very many substitutes. Once you're addicted, is a very, very much a necessary good. It's a low share of your budget because it's relatively inexpensive, at least compared to some of its substitutes, or substitutes. And essentially, you're bound by time, because if you're addicted and you don't smoke enough, you start to feel physically sick. So in that sense, it's like kind of the perfect inelastic good, and that's why I bring it up. I'm not trying to make a joke about it. It's just a very inelastic good. It's almost like a textbook example of checking all four of those boxes. Okay, so there's just a few examples of inelastic goods and elastic goods, and why they'd be inelastic versus elastic. All right, so next up, I'm going to move to different other kinds of different definitions of elasticity. So within price elasticity of demand, just categorizing how elastic or inelastic it is. So we'll talk about that in the next video. See you there.